Hey everyone, Brianna here and welcome back to another video. I don't know why in the last one I said, oh, I'll probably only be doing my wrap up, you know, that's the only video I'll be finishing with, when every year I've done my most disappointing books of the year and my, all the books I enjoyed for the year. So, I don't know why I said that, but anyways, there's like at least 3 or 4 videos that I'll be ending the year with. So yeah, this is the first one, my most disappointing reads of the year. Now, I don't do my least favorite books and favorite books of the year. Those aren't the videos I do. Like I said, I do the most disappointing books, and these are books that I was really looking forward to. Not just books that I gave low ratings to, but books that I was hyped about, that I've had on my shelf for years maybe, and I've always wanted to get to, like, a lot. But then they ended up not being what I hoped they would be. So that is this video, and then my next video will be the books that I enjoyed this year, which I will list my favorites as well as just books that maybe I didn't give 5 stars to, but I also really liked. So let's get going. Oh, and I like this Boston Terrier. How cute is he? Yeah. So Boston Terrier is like my #1 dog. Like that's the dog that like I really want to get. And also I grew up with boxers too. I love boxers. So if we ever got a second dog, I would also get a boxer. But this is the first dog I want. But yeah, so let's get started. And these books I do not have with me anymore because as soon as I was done reading them, I donated them. So there we go. So the first is Melody by V.C. Andrews. Oh, and in this video I have probably my most disappointing read in like of all time, maybe, since I started reading. So if you watch my November wrap up, you'll know what it is, but if you haven't, then you'll get to hear me talk about it again in this video. But yeah, Melody by V.C. Andrews. Now V.C. Andrews, she is no longer with us. She is a ghostwriter, so I haven't read any of her ghostwriter written stuff. This is one of her older works. And I picked up this book because I read Flowers in the Attic and Petals on the Wind, which is the sequel. And there's one more book in the series with that character. Maybe there's 1 or 2 more. But I loved Flowers in the Attic. It is so good. Now, in V.C. Andrews, whenever I talk to older readers, they would say, oh, I remember reading her books as a kid and they were scandalous, so I remember like secretly reading them. And so I was thinking I was just going to be reading like a, I don't know. I thought I expected something different from that description. I thought it was, I don't know, like a smutty page turner or something, I don't know. But no, Flowers in the Attic was amazing, and it's one of my favorite books of all time. And oh my gosh, I love, love, love that book. And the sequel, Petals on the Wind. Petals on the Wind ended in a way that I was really happy with, so I didn't go on to read the 3rd one. But yeah, so good. So I picked up another book in a secondhand shop like a long time ago for like, I think $1 or something, and that was Melody. And it just didn't have the same depth of background. It was very predictable. It was what I expected her books would be when I'd heard from other people, from older readers, that they were kind of salacious. That's kind of like what I expected. And even though Melody isn't salacious though, that's funny. It's very predictable. It's very, oh, she's obviously developing feelings for this person that she shouldn't be developing feelings for, and she's a teen. And it was just very, her parents died, she has to move in with relatives who couldn't stand her parents. And it's very formulaic. And so I was just really let down by the brilliance that is Flowers in the Attic and Petals on the Wind. They're filled with so much depth and like complexity, and it really is not like a black and white situation, whereas this kind of feels like it's making more out of the situation than actually is. And I also felt like Melody was written very childish, which, she comes from a small town, she's a little sheltered, but the characters in Flowers in the Attic are also kind of sheltered, also kind of live in like a happy bubble until tragedy strikes. But I feel like it just felt more realistic in the struggles that they went through as kids. And this, I felt like Melody's like 16 or something, and she just kind of felt like she was 11 sometimes. So that was, I was really hyped. I'm not gonna dive in and read more V.C. Andrews. They all kind of think I follow the same format, but I don't know if it's worth it for me personally to dig through a whole bunch of her works to try and find another gem and to see if there is one that's as complex and as Flowers in the Attic and Petals on the Wind. But it's not a top priority for me, but I wanted to try another one first. And then we have, so I only have 5 on this list. So I read 53 books this year, and only to have 5 that really let me down, I don't think is that bad. So we have Vida Nostra by Marina Diachenko, and I believe she's a Russian author, and I think the original was, I don't know if the original's, I think the original's written in Russian. I Don't know about that. If you already know off the top of your head, let me know. But yes, so I believe that the author's Russian, and this is a book about a girl who gets accepted into a special school, but it's a college, but it's also really dark. The way that she is told that she's invited, no, not invited, that she has to go to this school. It's very dark. She's on vacation with her mom, and this creepy man that's following her tells her she has to do this, this, and this, and if she doesn't, she's gonna her mom could die. Like, he alludes to it. Like, he alludes that it could be bad. Well, she ends up reliving the same day until she does it, and when she does it, she throws up a whole bunch of coins. Really weird, right? So, and these are the things that she needs to use when she goes to the school for whatever reason. But so she ends up having to go to the school because she's worried that her mom might be hurt, her mom's new boyfriend might be hurt, who she's really happy for her mom. And all these things happen, and she learns like abstract concepts and how to like manipulate the world, essentially. And I am condensing it a whole lot because this is a long book, but it just did not live up to it was so intriguing. That premise is so intriguing, but it just ended up being too abstract for me, to the point where not only were the students confused about what they were learning, but the reader never really knows. And at one point the main character is like, oh, I get it. And as a reader, it's like, I still don't get it. Like, okay, like, if you don't do these exercises carefully, you might mess up the universe and your body, and you might, you know, transform into something. But there's no, things like this for me need their own logic in their reasoning, and there absolutely was none in, okay, well, why could she do this all of a sudden? It was just abstract, like, now you're opening your mind, and because you're opening your mind, you can now see things no one else can see. But it doesn't give the reader any building blocks to form, like, okay, like, this is what she's doing. It was just, like, abstract to the max the whole time, and I couldn't get behind that, and it made me feel very distant from the main character. I stopped being able to feel like I could see her and relate to her and understand what she's, not even relate, but like know what she's going through and follow her in her journey to become a master at whatever it is that she was studying. And none of that was clear. And I learned after I read that I think it's book 1 in the series, but for me, it's just not worth continuing reading. Because at the end of the book, I think she finishes her schooling. So it's like, it wasn't like this was just year 1 at the school and then I might pick up another other one to see if it clears up a little bit. It just didn't clear up the whole time. And I feel like I'm talking so vaguely about it, but that's literally all the answers I have. I don't have any more answers than that. And I was really bummed because it just sounded amazing. But yeah. Roadwork by Stephen King. If you follow my channel for any length of time, you know I want to read all of his works. So I just picked up another one of his that are on my shelf and I read it. And I have never given Stephen King a 1-star review. And this is my first 1-star review for him, and that's why it's on my most disappointing reads of the year. This guy is mad because the city wants to buy him out so they can pave his house, and they bought out all of his neighbors and he's the last one and he refuses to move, and it just felt very much like I didn't care at all. Like, I didn't care. Like, this guy has no redeeming qualities at all. He's quick to anger, he's kind of gross and creepy, and then he just gets so angry at the world that he does something that is awful. And but I feel like, I mean, this book wasn't written this year, so it's like, I could say this is really, 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 like, of all the, like, people who feel slighted quickly, easily, and then take that out in violence on other people, like, this is like the wrong time to like read a book about this, because it's happening a lot in like all over right now. So I just was like, ugh, like I was like kind of like, ugh, cannot believe I read this until the end. I do, you know, I do let myself DNF books, or I like to call it CNF, could not finish, because I try and I just cannot finish it. But I let myself CNF books, but I do try to finish the Stephen King books, because sometimes he really surprises you at the end, or the way everything's pieced together, and you know, it's often worth it. But this was just absolute dribble, and I'll forgive him though, because he's written so many works, and you know, I always forget like how like much older he is. Like, I forget that he's like 70 something, and he's written books beyond for decades. So his writing has definitely evolved. I should see when the book was written, I think a long time ago. But, so I don't hold it against him at all, obviously. I was just disappointed because I love his stuff so much, and so I've never given them a 1-star review. But I just felt like this book had, all of his books I feel like say a little bit about something, and this just had nothing to say, and it just felt like I was listening to a man whine, like, and about how unfair everything is, but him not doing actually anything to fix his situation or to make the most of his situation, and blaming everyone when everyone else has had to deal with the situation, which is not ideal, and have had no problems moving on, and, well, not no problems, but have been like, okay, this is what we need to do. But this grown man is just whining and complaining. Okay, sorry about that. I ran out of space. I really need to go through my camera roll properly. Anyways, yeah, and this grown man just takes his frustration and inability to do anything and takes out on other people, which is just gross and definitely not the message that we need, that I need this year, because I'm just like, oh my gosh, I hear about people doing that all the time, and it gets old. So the next one is The Blank Wall by Elizabeth Sanksy Holding, and I do have this book. Because it is the first Persephone classic that I finished. Woo! So you can see these are the tabs, and this is what the inside looks like. Woo. I did a whole video on my entire Persephone collection. If you want to check that out, I will link it down below, or you can just find it on my channel. But yeah, so this is the first one that I ended up finishing reading. So I will put it back later. So this book, I think I gave it, I'll see what I gave it, but I didn't enjoy this book because it's about a mother who doesn't feel that connected to her husband is away. I don't remember if he just works or he was in the army. And she hasn't, it's said a long time ago, 50s maybe? I don't know, it's said a while ago. And she has a daughter and a son, and her daughter brings home this guy and is like, I want to marry him, and she's like, she is not marrying this guy. Like, he's clearly something up with him, like he's a scam or a con or whatever. And she goes out to, he leaves, and so does her grandpa leave. Her dad escorts him out when he leaves, and he ends up being dead. And the whole time, the mom is like, oh my gosh, my dad accidentally killed him. Does he even know that he killed him? Maybe they had a scuffle. And, you know, So the whole time, she spends the whole book, like, trying to, like, protect her family, but of course a constable comes, and then someone comes and blackmails her. But then the blackmailer ends up being like, I'm in love with you, or something. And this is another character who just spent the whole time kind of, like, whining. And part of it is I get that she felt disconnected from her children, and I can't imagine that's so difficult, especially when you're a husband, you don't know if the husband's gonna ever come back, and then you're housing your father and your 2 kids, like, that's difficult. And I understand she just wanted to feel needed, and like they appreciated how much she did with her, which I think, for her, how much she does for them. She just wanted to feel appreciated, and she wanted that acknowledged, and I think that's totally valid. But the way the story laid out itself, I just ended up not caring. Like, she does all these things, so she goes back and forth between her, feeling underappreciated and complaining, then her kind of really haphazardly trying to finesse the cops, I guess, by, trying to divert their attention away from her. But that was like, obviously she was nervous and didn't know. But then this con guy that was like, well, the guy that's dead now, he owed me money, so now you owed me money. And she's like, what? But then he's also like, well, I'm kind of in love with you, like, trust me, like, we'll move the body, like. But it was just written in such a boring way. I guess that's my point. It was written in such a boring way that I didn't care at all. And I didn't, like, the sidetrack with, like, the con man who now, likes her or something, just was, it didn't fit in. And I don't know. It wasn't for me. And the premise of it sounded really interesting because I had to deal with the death and things like a murder and things like that. But I just ended up not caring. So, yeah. I gave it 2 stars. And Roadwork I gave 1 star. And let's see, Vita Nostra, which I listened to, by the way, and I think that's a good idea. I think I enjoyed the voices. But I gave, I gave 3 stars. Oh yeah, another review, I'm looking at my review right now, another reviewer said this is a book of ideas, not plot. So, and that is 100% true about Vita Nostra. A book of ideas, no plot. In the beginning, there's plot. After that, when she's at the school, no plot. So yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. I love reading other people's reviews. I don't know if you guys do, but I love it. Because sometimes when you're trying to say something good or bad about a book, you just can't find the right words, and then you see that someone else wrote it perfectly for you. Okay, and then my last book is 6-4, which I can't believe I didn't write down the author's name, Hideo Yokoyama. 6-4 by Hideo Yokoyama. I talked a whole bunch about this in my November wrap-up. It has to deal, the premise is there's a kidnapping, a 20-year-old kidnapping that's now being reopened, and the main character, who is a cop, his daughter has just gone missing. So there's kind of a parallel with, you know, him grieving that way and this case being reopened. But this book, 680 something pages long, it is 98% about police procedural and the inner workings and politics and and posturing and, you know, I don't know, yeah, posturing of the police department and all these men and really it's a majority of men, all these men's egos, and really how the egos get in the way of things. But it wasn't even fully about like, oh, don't have such a big ego, like that's bad. It was literally just them posturing constantly, and the main character got on my nerves because he was so cocky, and then he'd get like, something would happen and he'd be forced to be humbled, right? But then he would just complain about like how he didn't deserve that, like he worked hard and they're just pushing him around, and like it just was so annoying. And I'll say it here because I said this in my wrap-up, I'm going to tell you about the kidnapper. They catch the kidnapper from 20 years old, and I'm about to tell you how really quickly. If you don't want to know, you can skip ahead, but it's so ridiculous that I have to say it. So the kidnapper of the young woman, you know how when people get kidnapped, they'll try and like trace the call. If the kidnapper calls to demand ransom, well, they were setting up the recording equipment and something went wrong and it didn't work, which is a subplot in itself of what happens to those people that messed up the recording. But so the only person who hears the voice is the dad of the missing girl. So he was the one who was answering the call, and then the police were trying to record it. Well, he's the only one that hears the voice. Well, they finally catch the kidnapper because the father spent the 20 years calling everyone in the phone book waiting to hear this man's voice because he said he would never forget it. And apparently one day he ended up at the right household and he found the right guy's voice, which is ludicrous to me. Even if you have, I think, like, well, photographic memory is like looking. Anyways, even if you have like something special where you can pick up a note, or you're really good with music, people, like, you will change, your brain will change what you perceived over time in minuscule of ways. And the fact that the idea that this man, who they don't say has some kind of special healing or special ability to recall stuff, they never once say he has a special ability to do that. So I'm assuming he's just like everyday Joe, you and me. And I think the whole point, which it made no sense, but it made me tear up. Like, it did make me tear up that he spent, like, his finger was all like black or something, I don't know, from like pressing the phone booth buttons all the time because he called from a phone booth. So that did make me tear up because I think the whole idea is like he never stopped and he was gonna do this himself because he knew the police were hiding something, like the fact that the recording never went through, or that there was a second phone call that didn't get recorded. But I just, like, it's so ludicrous. It doesn't make any sense. And why did I have to read 680 pages of police procedural to get to this? And the main guy's daughter who goes missing, that's never resolved. But apparently she ran away because she had body dysmorphia, and she blamed him and them for the way her face looks, which she thought was too manly. But no one ever made fun of her for having a weird face. She just really didn't like her own face, which, I mean, I'm sure a disorder like that could spring from nothing, but like that's the only thing we like knew about her. So then I ended up being annoyed with that character, with the missing daughter, because I was like, we don't know anything about her. Every flashback where they talk about her is just her yelling and screaming and throwing the door and refusing to do all this stuff, refusing to go to therapy. Like, it just, I couldn't find a way to get in there and feel crazy attached or sympathetic to anyone in this book. So, but again, I say all this and then I did tear up a little bit because like the situation resonated with me and made me cry. about the end, but it was, oh my gosh, it was so disappointing. On top of the fact that they never explain, they give you 40 plus names within the police, across cities, across precincts that he's dealing with, and they never once really explain how each person's connected. Like, they'll talk about one person and say, oh, he's the top dog, and they'll mention another person and say, oh, he's the top dog. He's the top dog at D, and he's the top dog at like F or whatever, and then this is the boss, and he's coming in and he controls everything, and D is and F are both like scared, but for different, it's never perfectly laid out. I did find out later that I think that this is part of a series. Yeah, Prefecture D, which is the police station, number 4. So this is 4 in the series, but this is touted as like a great singularity novel. Like, you don't need to read the other ones, so you really don't. But if you're going into just mumbo jumbo, and if you're going into just a whole bunch that's being thrown at you, like, you're starting off on like a shaky foundation. So I don't know. That is my end rant about this book series, or that book. And I ended up giving it 2 stars because it just frustrated me so much. Some of the mystery aspects were great. The subplot about the phone call not getting recorded and being kept secret, that was interesting. Him tracking down that, but he had so many grudges. It was like, for what? Can we just focus on the kidnapping? Like, come on. I'm gonna say that about everyone. But yeah, anyways, so that is my most disappointing books of the year. Let me know if you've read any of these. I would love to know, especially if you've read 6-4 or Vita Nostra, especially what you think of those two, because those ones, I picked up 6-4. I had it on my shelf for years. I picked up and put it down 3 times. I'm not joking, 3 or 4 times. And Vita Nostra just looked so unique, and it's a newer book. It looked so unique and fascinating, and my disappointment with these 2 books was just crazy high. So yeah, as always, let me know what you think, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!